Prior to the 1980s, the Lakers were already one of the most successful teams in the NBA with 6 championships to their name. However, most of those came during the 1950s when the team was located in Minneapolis. When Jerry Buss bought the team in 1979, the franchise's last championship had been in 1972, after which the team struggled to reassert itself in the league. After purchasing the Lakers in the forum from Jack Kent Cooke, Buss set about rebranding the team with an image that was more in line with the franchise that was supposed to embody the glamour of Hollywood. Sparing no expense, the Lakers were highly successful under Buss's ownership, winning 10 NBA championships during his reign. Throughout the 80s, the team played a run-and-gun style of basketball that was epitomized by the phenomenal and flashy talents of Magic Johnson. Buss wanted Lakers games to be known not just for the success on the court, but also, and just as importantly, for their entertainment value. With this in mind, Buss insisted that the team play an up-tempo style that came to be known as Showtime. Additionally, he hired a live band to perform at home games and, more importantly, established the team's own personal cheer squad, known as the Laker Girls, who were a big factor in drawing attention to the team, though that attention wasn't always positive.
NBA champs. Come on! Like clubbing baby seals.
At the time that the Laker Girls were established, cheerleaders weren't common for NBA teams, but they soon became iconic and synonymous with the Lakers and even the very idea of success, as Laker home games often seemed less like a sporting event and more like a party at the Playboy Mansion, complete with loud music, scantily clad women, and A-list celebrities. On paper, the squad served as local ambassadors for the Lakers and advocates for female empowerment. More than anything else, though, the group was, and still is, a big career opportunity, specifically in regards to the music and film industries. With the same sentiment with which he ran the team, Buss only recruited the best of the best dancers to become Laker Girls, though personality, style, and the ability to work in a team were also important, traits that would make transitioning to another medium of the entertainment industry relatively easy, as some former Lakers girls did. As somewhat accurately depicted in HBO's 2022 series Winning Time: The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, Paula Abdul was a crucial piece to the Lakers girls' success, which she then used to her own personal benefit. It was while working with the squad that Abdul was noticed by the band The Jacksons. She was hired by the group to do their choreography for the music video for their 1984 single Torture off their album released that same year, Victory. Abdul was later hired to do the choreography for the Jacksons' Victory Tour, which in turn led to other opportunities in the music industry. Most notably, she did choreography for 3 of the video clips for the singles off of Janet Jackson's 1986 album Control. Abdul also found work in the film industry, which led to her doing the choreography for one of the most iconic dance sequences in film history for the giant keyboard scene in the hit 1988 film Big. Abdul then launched her own successful music career as a solo artist, with the release of her 1988 album Forever Your Girl. Abdul's success continued well into the 90s in both the music and film industries, releasing hit albums and choreographing iconic scenes, most notably and appropriately the cheerleading scene in the 1999 film American Beauty. Abdul's phenomenal success, which continued into the 2000s and 2010s as she transitioned to reality TV, gave it extra prestige to the image of a Laker girl. Additionally, a number of other former Laker girls used their time with the squad to springboard into another career. After her time with the group, Tina Landon became a highly sought-after choreographer, who has since worked with a number of music icons, including Prince, Jay-Z, and Rihanna. There's also Lee Van Dale, who managed the unlikely task of transitioning from a model and cheerleader to a professional wrestler under the stage name Carmella. Still, regardless of the success stories that emerged from the Laker Girls squad, the group has always been seen as made up of cliched airheads, because, as part of Buss's glitzy Hollywood-infused vision for Showtime, Laker Girls were required to be as attractive as they were talented. They weren't, however, necessarily required to be intelligent.
And that squad always tries to bring it.
Right, but what is it?
It's just what they bring, okay?
This is why, when the story emerged in the late 90s, it was so easy for the general public, and even veteran journalists, to believe the tale of the Jelly Toast Laker Girl. In May 1997, a purported news article became popular on the internet as it detailed the supposed case of a woman who was suing a mom-and-pop pharmacy that sold her a popular contraceptive jelly because she ate the product on toast, thinking it was a form of jelly spread, and subsequently got pregnant.
Perhaps this pamphlet will prove helpful.
So you've ruined your life.
The woman was described as being a former model who'd once been a cheerleader for a popular professional basketball team, though later incarnations of the story jumped to the conclusion that she'd been a Laker girl. Although the contraceptive in question had come with instructions, the woman claimed that the pharmacist should still have put a specific warning on the box stating that the product wasn't effective if eaten, especially since the jelly was located just 2 aisles away from the store's food section. As a result, the woman was seeking $500,000 in compensation for the hardship she was going to have to endure. At the time, there had been a number of high-profile civil cases that appeared to be frivolous, such as the McDonald's coffee case when a 79-year-old woman sued the restaurant chain in 1994 after spilling coffee on herself. For the most part, the public ridiculed and criticized the case as a blatant abuse of civil action, as it was widely believed that the incident happened while the woman was driving, and that she had only received superficial burns.
It wasn't like the McDonald's employee took the coffee, threw it on her.
Rather, as detailed in the 2011 documentary Hot Coffee, the woman had in fact been in the back seat of a stationary car, and had received third-degree burns that required skin grafts and 2 years of medical treatment.
I was burned so severely that they didn't think I would live.
Hey, you can show me the burns? What?
Still, back in 1997, crazy civil cases appeared to be everywhere, and the Jelly Toast Laker girl just seemed like yet another ridiculous but plausible example. Adding to the public's outrage was the fact that, reportedly, legal experts speculated that the woman had a good chance of winning, because her case still highlighted legitimate issues in relation to labeling and false advertising. Understandably, owners of the pharmacy were said to be shocked and angry that such a case could ever be taken seriously. The article concluded by stating that, with the litigious nature of the day, it was difficult for businesses to avoid troublesome lawsuits, and, unfortunately for the pharmacists, courts often bent backwards to please consumer groups. Consequently, the timing was perfect for people to bring legal action against businesses, no matter how ridiculous the case may be. Shortly after the story became popular on the internet, it was ostensibly legitimized when, in June 1997, late-night host Jay Leno made light of the story on his show, while political commentator Rush Limbaugh also drew public attention to the supposed case. Later that same year, in October, columnist Ann Landers also referenced the case as an example of real-life stories that was stranger than fiction. It wasn't until many years later, in 2010, that Snopes investigated the story and found that, although plausible, it was completely fabricated. Despite the story being seemingly verified by multiple sources, it was in fact a joke article from the Weekly World News, a tabloid that published fictional or exaggerated ostensible news stories from October 1979 to August 2007. The publication was renowned for its outlandish cover stories that were typically supernatural or paranormal in nature, and obvious parodies. However, other times, much like the current-day satire publication The Onion, every so often one of the Weekly World News' clearly fake articles would be taken seriously by the general public, because the paper would produce a story that was more satirical in nature and could be misrepresented as actual news, as was the case with the former cheerleader and a contraceptive jelly. Later, in March 1998, the Weekly World News followed up the original story, reporting that the woman at the center of the case had taken her life, due to the embarrassment after all the intense media attention and ridicule. However, mainstream media never reported on the follow-up story, though not necessarily because it was found to be false. Rather, it presumably lacked the appeal of the original article, the popularity of which came from the fact that it was both an amusing story and a confirmation that society was repeatedly being held hostage by ridiculous lawsuits filed by people who were either idiots or con artists, if not both. Ultimately, the Jelly Toast article is merely a repurposed old joke, one of many similar humorous stories about the misuse of contraceptives by people who are either sexually naive or simply lacking in basic common sense, much like models and cheerleaders were perceived to be in the eye of the general public at the time. There's always been numerous urban legends around the NBA. Most involve the players, though team officials and staff members aren't safe from strange outlandish stories that get circulated without a shred of proof. Typically, stories gain credibility because they at least seem plausible. Numerous players are superstitious, so it's easy to believe that some have strange obsessions with certain pre-game rituals, while team owners are notorious for squandering money on ridiculous unnecessary items for the dumbest of reasons. And cheerleaders are always being seen and rarely, if ever, heard, because, ostensibly, they won't have anything important to say. Certainly, it's plausible that at some point in time, someone, somewhere, has accidentally consumed contraceptive jelly, thinking it would be effective. People are known to do incredibly strange, dangerous, and downright bizarre things with medical products, no matter how clear the instructions on the packaging may be. But no Laker girl ever sued a pharmacy over jelly that she mistook for a food product. Rather, the story was just an old joke, repackaged into a funny story that capitalized on the public's outrage at the increasingly ridiculous nature of civil lawsuits. And, given the public's perception of cheerleaders at the time, the Laker girls were an easy target as the punchline for a ridiculous story that people could, and would, eagerly believe as fact.
The Laker girls cheerleading squad needs to be taken down a peg or two.
It's just what they bring, okay?